Hello, we are in the Journey Through A Course in Miracles by Kenneth Wapnick. This is Chapter 2, the Separation and Atonement. This is about defenses. As a way of helping Helen and Bill, both clinical psychologists with a psychoanalytic orientation, conservative in their psychological beliefs, Jesus used psychological theories and terms they were familiar with, though reinterpreting them. He did something similar with the Bible, where he took some particularly horrific passages, such as "the wicked will perish," and reinterpreted them, shifting their content from fear to love. He thereby takes the ego's words and gives them a different meaning. This is a more elementary expression of the principle he enunciates much later in this special function, which describes how the Holy Spirit can use what the ego made to harm as a means of healing, transforming the special relationship into a classroom in which we learn our special function of forgiveness. In a sense, Jesus does the same thing here, taking standard psychological terms and reinterpreting them. One of the most important of these, a major aspect of Freud's work, is defense mechanisms, leading Jesus to speak about defenses from the wrong-minded and right-minded points of view. First, the ego. And this is the ego's use of defenses. Since the separation, defenses have been used almost entirely to defend against the atonement, and thus maintain the separation. This is generally seen as a need to protect the body. The many body fantasies in which minds engage arise from the distorted belief that the body can be used as a means for attaining atonement. In general, everything the ego does to ensure that we do not choose the atonement is a defense. It realizes it owes its very existence to the decision-making Son of God choosing to believe in it, and is thus aware of the threat posed by the Son's capacity to change his decision. It therefore quickly erects a series of defenses to protect itself from the possibility that the Son will exercise his mind's power to change its wrong-minded choice. The goal of this defense strategy is to have God's Son become mindless, retaining no awareness he is a mind. Rather than knowing himself as a thought, the Son perceives himself as a body, not ruled by the mind, but by the physical organ called the brain. The ego attains this goal by first convincing the Son that the mind is a dangerous place, which means the ego needs to motivate the Son to flee and never return to it. Like any good teacher, the ego knows its student will not learn without motivation. Jesus, incidentally, does the same thing, needing to motivate his students to learn his lessons. Yet, while he motivates us through love, the ego uses fear, teaching that the separation is real by convincing us that remaining in the mind will result in certain annihilation. The ego quickly erects its first line of defense, which we have called the unholy trinity of sin, guilt, and fear. It is essential to remember this is made up, having no reality whatsoever. This theme is clearly enunciated throughout the Course, and we will continually return to learn it. Recall that the purpose of sin, guilt, and fear is to convince us that if we remain in the mind, we will be destroyed. We have sinned against God, are overwhelmed with guilt and fear that God will destroy us if we remain in the mind, where he will find the self we stole from him. This fear of God's wrath, the original of all fear, motivates us to leave the mind and make our home in the world of bodies. The second line of defense, then, is the body, which protects us from the guilt in our minds as the guilt protects us from choosing the atonement. Freud's great genius and gift to the world was to explain how defenses work. While he did not understand that defenses were ultimately against the atonement, he did understand their dynamics. Still further, he put projection on the world's map, without which we would not have A Course in Miracles today. We now turn to the atonement and the right-minded use of denial. And we will turn to that tomorrow. I thank you so much for joining with me. I hope you have a beautiful day, and I will see you tomorrow.